Thank you for being here today at our very first session of Astitva, guys. And we are humbled that all of you are joining us in this very first session. My name is Pankaj Malhotra, and as a co-founder of Astitva, I take immense pleasure in introducing the platform Astitva to you. It is being real in the virtual and actually being consciously present in the ever-changing times. Astitva is a platform where we have collaborated spiritual understanding and cyber wellness with current concerning issues like gender inequality, sustainability, and of course, the issue we are all facing today, COVID, the impact of COVID. The necessity of this program has awoken from the actual beautiful minds of some visionaries like Ms. Meena Mahajan, Amit Dubey, Ms. Smita Jaikar, Ms. Kanishka Dhankar, Professor Triveni, and Ms. Rika Roy, of course, who we have today with us. And under the guidance of beautiful minds like Tarun Singhal and Sanjeev Goel. Thank you, both of you, and all the speakers who have created this beautiful platform for all of us. This platform is actually very eager and excited to bring a very, very positive change in the society, and obviously, as I said earlier, making people consciously aware and consciously present to this ever-changing scenario. We are out here with me. Before we proceed, I'll actually like to introduce Ms. Divya Divakaran to share the preface and the focus of BHC's initiative on India on sports. Ms. Divakaran is a senior trade and investment advisor in Creative and Sports British High Commission and has been working with DIT Delhi for over 11 years. In her current role, she helps British sports business to identify opportunities in India and connect them to potential counterparts, successfully promoting collaborations and business between the two countries. Wow. That's impressive. Thank you so much, Vidya, for being here. It's all over.
Pankaj, and thank you, BBG Delhi and Astitva team for organizing these interactive series of sessions with young leaders. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm glad to join this international trade. DIT is UK government's international economic department, responsible for bringing together policy, promotion, and financial expertise to break down barriers to trade and investment and help businesses succeed. In my role as a senior advisor, as Pankaj mentioned, I work with British businesses to help them identify opportunities in the Indian market and connect them to potential counterparts in the sports and creative sector especially, and thereby promoting collaborations and businesses between UK and India. We have been working towards opportunities where UK could help and support India with its objectives of sports sector development. One of our key initiatives have been forming a working group called the India-UK Sports Alliance. This was launched formally in London during the Cricket World Cup last year. The alliance meets twice a year and brings together the key influencers and decision makers from both countries, from the sports sector, to basically identify areas of collaboration and business for mutual benefit. We've been also engaging with Indian sports ministries as well as key industry stakeholders, corporates, trade associations, and sports federations to promote, share best practices in policy and governance, knowledge transfer, enhancing skill sets, and leveraging UK's experience and expertise in the sports sector. In the current scenario, wherein the COVID crisis has created a difficult situation for all walks of our lives, the sports sector is facing challenges as well. We at DIT have been trying to engage with businesses on the difficulties they are facing currently, and we try to help them with guidance. We're also engaging with the Indian ministries on sharing knowledge and expertise on how UK is tackling these issues within the sports sector. DIT is committed to help and support the development of the Indian sports industry, and we are working on various levels to do that. We all know the COVID situation has affected the sports sector badly. There are zero activities in sports tournaments or matches right now. Some have resumed or are going to resume with restrictions. In addition to this, training academies, schools, and universities are closed. So the overall business scenario is extremely discouraging at the moment. Going digital like we are doing today and using technology is helping many stakeholders managing the current situation to some extent. However, a lot more is required to ensure the sustainability of the whole ecosystem in the new normal. Our key speaker today to talk about this subject is Rika Roy. Rika, as most of you would know, is a journalist, broadcaster, podcaster, and achievement scholar. She has been associated with the business of sports for the last 21 years. A deputy editor with NDTV, Rika believes that sports and its role models can drive massive social changes being a vehicle for development, and a way to fight the gender war. She'd been actively involved in such relevant topics of discussion organized by our British High Commission as well. Rika will be sharing today some learnings from sports and the impact of COVID crisis on the industry, highlighting how it's displaying resilience in the new normal and how to bounce back in these challenging times. It's my pleasure to welcome Rika to this session now. Over to you, Rika.
Thank you very much, Divya, for the glowing recommendation, and I hope to do justice to what you just said. Now, being a journalist, my role primarily all these years have been to provide context to content. And today, as we launch Astitva, I would like to provide a little bit of context to what we are trying to do, and talking about sports. Why sports in this in this series of seminars? Why to start with sports? Because in sports, we often use a word called bounce back ability, resilience. And by bouncing back, we mean, say, for example, a football match when your team is down 3-0 in the first half of the play, and then it comes back to score 6 goals, and then you win the match. That's bouncing back. Also, in the game of cricket, similar things happen. You are hanging by the skin of your teeth in the match. Then a batsman comes in and plays a fabulous rear guard to win the match. That's also bounce back. Bounce back and or comeback are words that are used typically in sports and are hired in life in general as well. Now, bounce back happens as a result of grit. You may ask me, what is grit? Now, grit is the power of passion and perseverance. And you don't have to be a billionaire. You don't have to be the most educated or evolved person to have grit. The reason I say this is because I'll have to give you an example from the Calcutta Maidans, popularly known for staging big football games. Now, if you haven't been to the Sports Authority Stadium in Calcutta, I'll tell you the story of a lady who's popularly known as Lozenge Didi, because she's made a life out of selling candies at the stadiums during match days. And when you go there, you typically see Lozenge Didi or Yamuna Das draped in a yellow sari, wearing an East Bengal club jersey, which is gold and red, with a red bindi, because she supports the club distributing sweets. Typically, she earns $5 a day. And with that, she has actually been able to treat her husband, who had a motor neuron disease, who passed away in 2018. She's been able to take care of herself. I was speaking to her last month and I asked her, how are you in this pandemic? Because there's no football, so you're not going to the stadium and selling candies. She said, look, a life in sports has given me the lessons of victory and defeat. And I take them and I apply them to life. Today, when life is not treating me that well, I don't consider myself to be a loser. There will be times when I will still win in life, and there will be times when I lose. There will be difficult times, and those are times when I learn. Well, sports is about such stories. Sports is also about learning, life's learnings. While, from sports, we get these fabulous stories of winning, losing, of, making our countries proud. And one of the things that I always say, that I love telling stories of sports people, because in a non-war scenario, they are the reason why our country's flag goes up on another country's soil. When they win medals, our country's flag go up. And what a proud moment for us. Well, those are the moments to cherish. Those are the reasons why we talk about sports, the emotions of it. There's also another reason. If you have watched the film Jerry Maguire, I'll hire a phrase from there. And the most famous phrase from that movie is "show me the money." The money is one of the prime attractions in sports today. Now, I'll give you a ballpark figure of how much the sports industry globally is worth. It is worth around 488.5 billion US dollars. Now, the Indian sports market is about $1.04 billion market. IPL constitutes 85% of that, and then there are other leagues like ISL, PKL, PWL, Table Tennis League, Basketball League, Boxing League, Arm Wrestling League, Tennis League, Coco League, Racing League, you name it, you have it. And that means there is an ecosystem around that league. Now, Lozenge Didi forms a part of the football ecosystem. What happened during coronavirus? The lockdown started on 25th of March, and that's around the time the summer vacation, the schools shut, summer vacations begin, and sports, hot weather sports begin in India. And that is the time when sports came to a grinding halt, and it brought the industry to its knees. Now, I'll give you an example of the biggest equipment manufacturer in the world. They are based in Meerut. The name of the company is Saw Perils Greenland. They employ 1,500 people at their factory in Meerut. So that was shut for a good 2 months, which means those many people and their families did not get paid. Some of them did get paid, some of them did not get paid. But they are one of the biggest sports manufacturing facilities. If not, I would say they are the biggest, not one of the biggest. They are the biggest sports manufacturing, equipment manufacturing facility in the world. That is one. Then there are many like them. There are people who do work on small scale. For example, Dhyaneshwar Avagade, he strings tennis rackets. His son and he earns between 10,000 and 20,000 rupees a month by stringing tennis rackets. The Maharashtra Open in January is a time to make brisk business. That didn't happen this year. Plus, he does work for the ATP and the WTA tour. He hasn't been able to get much work. Between the period of lockdown and now, there has been very little work coming to him for 2 months. Also, he did not have any earning. Now, what happened is that the Indian during the lockdown, there were longer implications, and it threatened to close down clubs, academies, leagues, support staff, and all people who move the wheels of sport were affected. With the return of IPL, and even though it is not happening in India this time around, the sentiments are good because everyone feels that sports is returning, and that is good because that is a sign that we will get back work. Now, it is going to be a big year for Indian sports from now till the end of next year. And the reason why I say that 2021 begins with the Under-17 Women's FIFA World Cup, and that is going to be staged in India. It's a big event. The state of Odisha is creating world-class infrastructure. They're also developing a pathway from grassroots to elite for producing talented footballers. The state is looking to strengthen in all key areas of football development pyramid, and their goal is to turn Odisha into a big talent-producing state for football. And what have they done so far? They have built 5 natural and 1 artificial FIFA standard pitches, and these can then be used by young footballers after they have been used in the tournament, which means that they have invested in a legacy program. Meanwhile, what has Jharkhand done? A group of under-17 FIFA World Cup women national team probable was stuck in lockdown in remote and very backward areas of the state of Jharkhand. They extended a special state invite to these 30 girls and brought them as state guests to Ranchi, conducted weekly health checkups. They're still doing that. And they have international diet plan, involvement of UNICEF in communication and adolescent training program. There have been a visible impact in the last 2 months. That's what the Odisha government, the Jharkhand government officials tell me. but there needs to be a continuity. There needs to be a continuous process of developing these girls even after the World Cup in February. There is a huge opportunity to support girls from tribal and hilly areas. Now, going back to the state of Odisha, they are also the only government in India that sponsors a sport. They sponsor the Indian men's and women's hockey team. They had very successfully staged the 2018 Hockey World Cup and are the hosts of the 2023 World Cup as well. They have created facilities in Bhubaneswar, Rourkela. Despite the lockdown, they are working towards making 17 hockey turfs in 17 blocks of Sundargarh district, which is the cradle of Indian hockey. Now, Corona-induced lockdown has been the time to invest in legacy projects. Some of the governments in India have very smartly used that time to do so. With elite events are associated legacy programs. Now, some athletes have wonderfully been supported by academies like JSW, like Gun for Glory, which is run by Gagan Narang Sports Promotion Foundation, and even by Sports Authority of India. After the 2021 Under-17 Women's FIFA, there is another big event that's coming up in 2021, that is the Olympic Games. Now, the Olympic Games were to happen this year. They got postponed to the next year. There are talks that Olympics may not happen if there is no vaccine, but I don't think Japan can afford that. Given the crisis and given that they have already prepared the infrastructure, they will be wanting to go ahead with it. And my guess is that it will once again be a bubble-wrapped Olympic Games. And the word bubble wrap means that it will happen in a bio bubble, like the way like the way IPL is happening right now, like the way you've seen US Open happen, or the NBA happening. They're happening inside inside a place, a protected place, which is called a bio bubble, where players and officials are given different spaces to function, and all of these entries and exits are monitored by a specific company. Some of them are also having to do tagging for working in different kind of facilities. IPL's biobubble management is done by an UK agency called AstraZeneca. They are called Restrata, and they are managing IPL's biobubble. Now, when our athletes return to the Olympic Games, they have got a whole 1 year period to prepare. Now, when they go into the Olympic Games, they will be much better prepared than our cricketers, who are now having to struggle a little bit inside the bio bubble in IPL, because they will then have necessary knowledge and understanding of workings of a bio bubble, and also staying and performing in that scenario because of coronavirus regulations. Now, the Indian sporting system is making them ready. Sports Authority of India has brought in several kind of measures so that these athletes who are now in the camps, in the SAI centers and different other places, follow the COVID protocol. There was a COVID outbreak in the Indian men's hockey camp. They're all fine now and they are back in training. The Sports Authority of India sanctioned a camp for the Indian shuttlers participating in the Thomas and the Uber Cup at the Pulela Gopichand Academy in Hyderabad. There are definite quarantine rules, and the players will also have to be tested every 6 days. Now, this is all a part of the new normal. So as I was saying, when they reach the Tokyo Olympic Games, having gone through all of this, they will be better prepared to handle the bio bubble. It has been difficult for a lot of the English cricketers, the West Indian cricketers. We do know of a story where a certain cricketer called Jofra Archer, while playing during the England versus West Indies Test series, exited the bio bubble. He was so much under pressure that he exited. He went home and he was penalized for going home for going home and not informing his team. So those are the kind of stories that will happen. Even IPL has seen several exits, players not turning up. They are extremely cautious about not entering a bio bubble, because once you enter, maybe you will not be able to exit the bubble very soon. There are officials that I am talking to who are there who are conducting the IPL. They say that it is so precious sum that at times they are forgetting whether they are operating in the daytime or in the night time. Now, what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to be an elite athlete. You don't need to be a sports administrator to uh, to run your life like a sports person, but you can take the learnings from sport. You can take the discipline from sports and apply to your own life. You may be a runner, you may be a chess player, a rider, a shooter, or nothing, just a person with an active mind. And that really helps you to navigate better in times of a crisis like this, a pandemic like this, and perhaps you will end up investing less on your health budget. Now, a study from the state of Victoria in Australia says that for every dollar invested in sport, you save $4 on a health budget. And that means that if you're investing $1 to play sport, it is more likely that you will not fall ill and not invest another $4 for on your health budget to bounce back, to get better if you're unwell. Which means if you are playing sport, you're building your immunity system, you're building your body, you're getting your mind and body in sync so that you lessen your investment on your health and thereby lead a healthy and active life. Now, while sports industry suffered massively, many others during the lockdown say that they have benefited, because coronavirus induced lockdown has been a time of learnings. Now, the CEO of Sports Mechanics, Ramki, the man who changed Indian cricket in 2003 by bringing video analysis to the Indian dressing room and helping players analyze their games better and strategize their games better, say that corona is not all that bad. Coaching and talent spotting moved online. Most of the junior level coaches are now calling it BC, or before corona, and AC, or after corona, and saying how life has changed and got better with ed tech, or education tech. The other thing that has happened, and I'm really glad that this has happened, is all the talk on mental health. Till before coronavirus, talking about mental health in India among sports people or among a lot of us was considered as a taboo. Now your life. Another thing I'm really glad about is that our athletes got a lot of time to prepare for the Olympic Games, because it was to happen in August this year, 2020. Now it has been moved to July, August next year, which means they get one whole year time. Though it may not be easy for many of them to manage their peaks, because in sports they say that for 4 years they manage their schedule in a way that they prepare to peak at a certain time. So a lot of them who had prepared for their peaks to come during July, August 2020 will now have to reboot and prepare for the peak again. But many athletes do say that it has been a good time to step back, to understand and work within and try to get back. The coronavirus has forced all of us to make lifestyle changes. For me, a life in sport has taught me patience and perseverance. Now, every day of my life, I try to be persistent with certain habits that I have learned during the corona times. And I'm really patient to see a corona-free world. These days, every morning when I wake up, believe you me, every morning when I wake up, there's Michael Jackson singing in my head saying, "You want to be tough, better do what you can. So beat it, beat it, beat it, beat coronavirus." Well, that's it from me for now. Over to Pankaj.
Wow, Miss Rika Roy, it actually beat it when I was hearing your session out there. And thank you so very much for such an insightful session. We will review and answer the questions which have been highlighted during the session. And Ms. Hennigan will be proceeding with the Q&A. But before that, let me introduce Ms. Hennigan. She's the Director of Education, India at Sanam S4. She brings 25 years of senior hands-on experience of higher education as an academic and specialist in international strategy and operations. This includes over 15 years as a dean and director of international at a leading UK university. She has also spent time in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia as dean and founding principal of a women's college of excellence. Wow, that's pretty amazing, Zaria. Right, over to you, Ms. Rika Roy. I will take up the questions when Ms. Hennigan can type it up and I can be her voice and you can answer it up. So we patent the technology.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
All right. So the first question by Delia is that how has sports helped you navigate challenges in your life, and especially in this time of pandemic, what we are facing?
Sports has helped me to be the biggest learning that I have got from sports is resilience. To be able to navigate through this pandemic, to you know to also mitigate the challenges that has been brought about by coronavirus. What I needed was resilience, and that has been my learning from sports. Also having grit, the power of perseverance. Patience and perseverance. I think these are the two things: resilience and grit. What you learn from sports is what you apply in your day-to-day life. And it's not just that. It's the whole attitude towards a life that changes when you spend a life in sports. That what I started saying, bounce back ability, is like you have a challenge, there are challenges thrown at you, and instead of brooding over it, thinking that what is going to happen to me, you plan how to bounce back. And I plan to bounce back every quarter, or maybe every quarter of an hour. If there are challenges thrown at me, I would plan to bounce back and not think about how I'm going to lose, but maybe how I'm going to win.
Wow. So from your mind, always singing beat it, beat it, beat it to your entire resilience, giving you the bounce back attitude. Thank you so much, Rika. I hope, Delia, that works out. Can I have next question from you? Okay. Here's the next question. So, as an educationist, how can the education system and sports improve outcomes for students in school at every level?
I just feel that schools should have sports, the opportunity for kids to play sports at every level, starting with, when you are 5-year-old and 6-year-old. Sports help to develop motor skills. And once you have better motor skills, then you not just play better sports, but that also reflects, that translates into whatever else you do, your studies, your extracurricular activities, and more energy. So just by giving children the chance to play sports, and they have when they're growing up, they have impressionable mind. And sports, when you kind of give them a sporting education, you help them grow with a positive bend of mind. They learn to, I think, in my case, I have learned to be a good loser. I'm never a sore loser in life. And when you teach them, when you give your children an education of sports, they not only become good winners, but good losers too.
I get it. That wonderfully said. That acceptance of that's how you bounce back. I believe that when you accept that yes, you have lost something and it has to be gained back. So that attitude sports give you back. Okay, I do have the next question from Delia. What role does the government have in helping the sports sector bounce back? Looking at business, manufacturers, employers, and employees, fans, and participants too.
I'll be very honest that the government's role is limited. But government has government does have certain roles to play, but we can't all rely on government to help sports bounce back. We as individuals, we have to do our part. There are corporates who can help Indian sports. Today, as I mentioned, IPL coming back is a big signal of Indian sports returning. We individually have to play our role. Of course, government has its own, there are policies that government has, and as I spoke about the Odisha government and the Jharkhand government, they are doing a very good job even in times of the pandemic. The Odisha government has 10 high performance centers. A lot of it hasn't been working during this time, but a lot of it also has been working. They have made sure that the high performance centers remain functional, so that a lot of the athletes who are facilitated during their training continue to get those facilities. Similarly, Jharkhand government also has been helping these 30 kids, the football girls, also of many other athletes that I have been talking to. They have been getting help at micro level. In fact, in their blocks, in their communities, they have been getting help, and that help has been coming to them from the government. Though having said that, I would say that people who work within the system, in the government, and for different NGOs, for different other corporates like the JSW, like Reliance Foundation, they need to be a little more proactive. Coronavirus is not easy. It's not going away from our system very soon till the time a vaccine is found. So how to better navigate this time while you have a pandemic raging? On the other hand, resuming sport within certain parameters and within certain stipulations, how to best to do it. These people who run sports, they now have to actively manage it.
Got it. So as government is doing its job, it's our responsibility also, and corporates and individuals, to just come forward and make sure that sports become part of our life.
Government can't do everything. We can't just sit back and say government will have to do it for us. No, government will have to do its work. We also have to do our work. We have to make an active participation in things that we do. Like as a journalist, I have my responsibility towards bringing the news to fore. That's also public service. So I can't say that the government will do my work. I have to do my work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vika. And I do have the final question from Delia, which says, how important will sports be in meeting the national development goals here in India in health, well-being, and gender challenges for women and girls?
Absolutely. It'll be very, very important. In fact, there is a lot of stress from the government of India to make, sports a priority area. There are various schemes being floated by the government of India. In fact, for women, for girls, there are gender sensitization programs being done. Sports is also being used as a tool for development. There is no bigger tool for development and gender sensitization in India today than sports. If you look at the netball projects that are run in different blocks for kids of migrant laborers, there are projects that are run for basketball girls, again for kids of migrant laborers. These are projects that basically are tools for development, bringing communities together, helping girls not only play the sport, but once they finish playing the sport, they can come back and become coaches, they can become mentors. So actively supporting an ecosystem, and that's begun, that's already started happening in India, but we have to do it at a larger level. We have to do more such projects. Maybe there are, a few thousand going on. They have to, these projects have to multiply. And when you give a girl the chance to dream an Olympic medal, her life changes. Because even if she doesn't go and stand on the Olympic podium, the whole journey towards preparation for the Olympics and making it to the Olympics just changes her life. She starts dreaming differently, and that makes her an enabler.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes journey is way more important than actual destination. Thank you, Rika, for that insight and your experience in answering all of our queries. And this is a big thank from Delia Hennigan. I'm just her voice, and she's right there, thanking you and all of us out here.
Thank you, Delia.
Okay. So I'll be the voice of Delia again to get over to next presenter, Ms. Priya Hingorani. So again, I'll be the voice of Delia, but the words are heard. So let me introduce our next presenter, Ms. Priya Hingorani, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court Lawyer, and President, Chevening Alumni, India. Ms. Hingorani has been in active law practice since the year 1990, when she was enrolled as an advocate with the Bar Council of Delhi. Her primary practice has been in the Supreme Court of India and has also appeared in the high courts across the country. She has also assisted Dr. Pal on important matters relating to taxation, customs, and excise before the Honorable Supreme Court and various high courts. Ms. Priya Hingorani, all over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Very, very good evening to all of you. A pleasure to see Rika again. Hello, Rika. The president of Chevening, India, very, very warm welcome to all of you. And also, I think it's a great moment for all of us that we have these series. A very big, big thank you to BBG and, of course, Tarun, who represents CAI in most of these. As a conduit, he kind of puts strings all of us together to my old association with ABS. It was really enjoyable listening to Rika and her thoughts over as a sports journalist and how things have panned out in the pandemic. I must say there are so many of her thoughts which I echo, because this is what, in working with different organizations, apart from my legal practice during this pandemic, I've had the opportunity of attending and organizing many webinars where we have discussed these things, have seen how people have turned to sports a lot more within their premises, in their houses or in their localities, how they have consciously tried to look after their mental health, mental well-being, not only of themselves, but also of their family members. Though, of course, I think it's been a trying time for doctors and psychiatrists because they've had a lot of complaints. One area of concern, of course, which has been with me and during part of my work has been, there's been a lot of domestic violence which women have faced during this pandemic, and we've had to do a lot of counseling, and I think, and we've also asked them to kind of do yoga, free their minds, go for a walk, do some exercise, and I think fitness has played a very, very important role in this period, in the last 6 months, in each and everybody's household. The young children particularly have faced a lot of problem, having not been able to go to the sports fields, have not had the usual games of cricket, football, or any other, physical games, strenuous games. So I think children, by and large, have felt the brunt of this pandemic, and we find a lot of children now wanting eagerly to get out and go to the fields and participate in events, though of course it's a very difficult period. But having said that, I think this kind of series, this kind of international interaction, this kind of discussions encourage us to think more out of the box. And I'm actually looking forward to our other two series in the next upcoming events. As we are looking forward to organizing many more of these webinars, and once we start physically to have events across the country, we have a strength of about 3,000 members all over India, and a great resource, a great pool that we have within our own association, which we look to taking forward events, helping the government on policy, bringing out the objectives of the different institutions that we work with. We have a great resource in the Chevening in India Alumni Association. And on behalf of the association, on behalf of BBG, CAI, and ABS, CBI, and other trade bodies which have actually got together. I'd like to thank all of you, particularly Rika, and thank all our organizers